to our amazing Infidelity Tales Lab family. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Your support means the world. Quick question. Where are you listening from today? Which city? Which country? Drop it below. Now, let's dive into today's story. The morning sun painted long shadows across Memorial Hospital's parking lot as Dr. Theodore Thompson finished his last emergency surgery. A young mother, victim of a devastating car crash, now stable thanks to his steady hands. He'd been called in at 4 a.m., hours before his supposed return from the 3-day medical conference in Boston. But that's who Theo was, always available when life hung in the balance. Incredible work, Dr. Thompson, Sarah Chun, his chief resident, said as they scrubbed out. That triple bypass while managing the internal bleeding. I've never seen anything like it. The key is remaining calm, Theo replied, his deep voice carrying the authority of someone who'd saved countless lives. Panic kills faster than any injury. Still, you should be at the conference. The hospital could have called someone else. Theo dried his hands, checking his phone. No messages from Catherine, despite it being nearly 9 a.m. Some things matter more than conferences. Speaking of which, I should head home. I've been trying to spend more time there. Dr. Rivera mentioned your wife complained about your hours at the charity dinner last week. Sarah hesitated. Said something about you being married to the hospital instead of her. A shadow crossed Theo's face. The charity dinner, where he caught Catherine drinking too much, laughing too loudly at his younger brother Clayton's jokes. He dismissed it then, focused on securing donations for the hospital's new trauma center. My marriage is fine, he said firmly, ending the conversation. Review the patient's charts and call me if anything changes. The drive home took 20 minutes, his Mercedes cutting through early morning traffic. He'd planned to surprise Catherine, make up for missing their anniversary dinner last month due to a multiple car pileup that required his expertise. The garage door opened to reveal an unfamiliar black Porsche parked in his spot. Clayton's car, Theo muttered, recognizing his brother's latest purchase. As a medical equipment supplier to Theo's private practice, Clayton certainly wasn't hurting for money. The brothers had always been different, Theo dedicated to healing, Clayton to profit. The house was quiet except for running water upstairs. On the kitchen counter, 2 empty wine glasses and a half-eaten meal from Le Cirque, Catherine's favorite restaurant. Theo touched the glasses, still wet. A man's leather jacket hung by the door, too large for his frame. Clayton's running shoes lay scattered nearby, tracking mud on the imported Italian tiles. Everything about the scene felt wrong, like the subtle indicators he'd learned to notice before surgical complications arose. Halfway up the stairs, he heard it. Laughter, masculine and familiar, followed by Catherine's distinctive giggle. The sound he used to love, now sending ice through his veins. You're insatiable, Clayton's voice drifted from the master bathroom. Who knew my big brother married such a wildcat? He didn't know what to do with me, Catherine purred. All work and no play. You know how to treat a woman, right? Theo pushed open the bedroom door. Steam billowed from the en-suite bathroom, carrying the scent of his wife's expensive jasmine body wash, a gift from his last trip to Paris. The bed was a mess, sheets tangled and stained. On the nightstand, a small brown bottle caught his eye. Sleeping drops, prescribed by Lorraine Keith, Catherine's pharmaceutical rep sister. Clayton emerged first, water dripping from his muscled frame, a towel slung low around his hips. The younger Thompson had always worked on his appearance while Theo focused on his surgical skills. Their father used to joke that Clayton got the looks, Theo got the brains. Time froze as Clayton spotted his brother. Instead of shame or shock, a confident smirk spread across his face. Well, big brother's home early. Guess the conference was boring. Thanks for last wild night, babe. He called over his shoulder, winking at someone still in the bathroom. Same time tomorrow? Catherine appeared, wrapped in the silk robe Theo had bought her in Paris. Her blonde hair was wet, clinging to shoulders that showed faint bruises, love bites. She didn't even flinch at seeing her husband. No worries. Her voice dripped with deliberate cruelty as she ran her manicured fingers down Clayton's arm. You got all the things that I deserve. Theo's just been a placeholder keeping your spot warm. The world narrowed to a single point. Every surgery, every saved life, Every moment of control crystallized into pure, focused rage. Theo moved with a precision that had made him famous in New York. His fist connected with Clayton's jaw, a textbook strike that sent teeth scattering across the marble bathroom floor. Clayton stumbled backward, blood streaming from his mouth. "You crazy bastard," he slurred through broken teeth, trying to maintain his balance on the wet floor. "Theo, stop!" Catherine shrieked, but there was more anger than fear in her voice. "You're just jealous because he's twice the man you'll ever be. At least he knows how to satisfy a woman. Get out." Theo's voice was deadly calm as he grabbed Clayton by the throat, years of martial arts training evident in his precise movements. The same hands that had repaired countless hearts now squeezed just hard enough to show restraint was a choice. "Both of you. Now!" He dragged his half-naked brother down the stairs, Catherine scrambling after them in her silk robe. The neighbors retreated to quite a show as Theo threw Clayton onto the front lawn. Several phones appeared in windows, recording the spectacle. "You can't do this!" Catherine screamed as Theo returned for her belongings, systematically filling trash bags with her designer clothes. "This is my house, too. I made you who you are." "The house is in my name," Theo replied calmly, continuing to pack. "Just like the practice you tried to steal. I built everything here while you played socialite with my money." He deposited the bags on the front step, then turned to his wife of 8 years. "You have 30 minutes to collect these and leave. Anything remaining will be donated to the women's shelter downtown." "You'll regret this," she spat, clutching her robe closed. "We'll destroy everything you've built. By the time we're done, no one will trust Dr. Theodore Thompson with a scalpel." Theo smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You know what the difference is between us, Catherine? I save lives. You just take them. Now get out of my house before I forget my Hippocratic oath." The locksmith, Mike Sullivan, worked efficiently while Theo conducted his search. He started in the home office, discovering financial documents hidden in Catherine's desk, evidence of accounts he'd never known existed. But it was in their bedroom where the real betrayal came to light. Catherine's vanity, an expensive antique imported from France, held more secrets than makeup. The bottom drawer concealed a hidden compartment, revealing a burner phone and a small notebook filled with account numbers and passwords. All finished, Dr. Thompson might call from downstairs. Changed every lock, added new security features to the windows. Nobody's getting in without your say-so. Theo descended to settle the bill, adding a generous tip. "Thank you, Mike. I appreciate your discretion." For what it's worth, Mike hesitated at the door. "My first wife pulled something similar. Caught her with my best friend. Sometimes trash takes itself out." After the locksmith left, Theo returned to the bedroom to examine his discoveries. The burner phone contained hundreds of messages between Catherine and Clayton, dating back over a year. Each text revealed new layers of betrayal. "Clayton, equipment invoices are set at 300% markup. Your darling husband's too busy saving lives to check the numbers. Grace has the books looking perfect. Catherine, of course he doesn't check. He trusts his precious baby brother completely. Idiot never questioned why you suddenly wanted to handle his medical supplies. Clayton, Grace Carpenter's fully committed. Amazing what people will do to keep their secrets buried. Speaking of which, Lorraine came through with more specialty. The messages painted a clear picture. Clayton had been systematically overcharging Theo's practice for medical equipment, while kickbacks flowed to offshore accounts in Catherine's maiden name. Grace Carpenter, his trusted office manager, altered records to hide the fraud. But it was the references to specialty that made his blood boil. Theo walked to the kitchen, found his favorite chai blend. The seal had been carefully broken and reglued. They'd been drugging him on his days off, ensuring he'd sleep through their encounters. His phone buzzed, a message from Devin Huber, the private investigator he'd contacted immediately after throwing them out. "Found something big. Your brother's been running this scam for years. How soon can you meet?" Devin's office occupied the top floor of a converted warehouse downtown, filled with cutting-edge surveillance equipment and computer systems. Their friendship dated back to college, before Theo chose medicine and Devin joined the FBI's cybercrime division. Now private investigation allowed him to use his skills without bureaucratic constraints. It goes deeper than we thought, Devin said without preamble as Theo entered. Clayton's been playing this game for years. Your practice isn't his first target, just his biggest score yet. The wall of screens displayed a complex web of transactions, surveillance photos, and social media posts. He uses Catherine's social connections to get close to successful doctors, then manipulates their equipment supplies. Most of his victims never realize they're being scammed. Security footage showed Clayton meeting various hospital administrators, including Grace Carpenter. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago, recorded in the parking garage of Theo's private practice. Grace alters patient records to hide the equipment charges, Devin explained. Makes it look like you're using more supplies than you actually are. The excess gets lost in inventory, then resold on the gray market. But here's where it gets interesting. He pulled up email exchanges between Lorraine Keith and several hospital staff members. Your sister-in-law's been spreading rumors about your sleeping problem for months, building a cover story in case anyone noticed something off. The emails painted a concerning picture. Poor Dr. Thompson, working himself to exhaustion. No wonder Catherine's worried about him. Another read, Dr. Thompson seemed sluggish during rounds. Maybe you should take a break. They created the perfect narrative, Devin concluded. If anyone questioned your behavior or the practice's finances, they'd blame it on overwork and sleeping pills. Nobody would look deeper. What about the sedatives they used? Theo asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. Lorraine's been writing prescriptions using her pharmaceutical contacts. Nothing too strong, just enough to ensure you'd sleep deeply. They've covered their tracks well. Theo stood at the window, looking out over the city he'd served for the past decade. In the reflection, he could see his face calm, composed, but his eyes held a dangerous intensity. The practice's 10th anniversary is coming up, he said finally. Time to plan a celebration. You're not thinking of going to the police? Not yet. Legal action is too clean, too quick. They'll hide assets, destroy evidence. Theo turned from the window. They wanted to play games? Let's play. As if on cue, his phone buzzed with a message from Harvey Riddle, his accountant. Found something interesting in Clayton's company records. Meeting tomorrow? Devin studied his friend's expression. What are you planning, Theo? You know what separates a good surgeon from a great one? Patience. Precision. Knowing exactly where to cut to cause the most impact. Theo's smile was cold. They spent a year planning my destruction. I'm going to dismantle their lives piece by piece, starting with my brother's dental reconstruction. I hear he's been using his own substandard medical supplies. That's ruthless, Devin observed. I like it. In the elevator, Theo loosened his tie and checked his reflection. He looked exactly like what he was, a respected surgeon, a pillar of the community. No one would suspect he was becoming something else, an architect of revenge. 2 weeks after exposing the affair, Theo sat in his office at Memorial Hospital reviewing surgical schedules when his phone buzzed with an urgent message from Harvey Riddle. Found their entire operation. Meeting in 20? Bring Devin. He was reaching for his coat when Sarah Chin burst in, her usually composed demeanor shaken. Dr. Thompson, you need to see this? She thrust a tablet toward him, displaying a local news website. The headline made his jaw clench. Prominent surgeons practice under scrutiny. Questions arise about equipment costs. The article, clearly planted by Clayton's PR team, implied mismanagement and potential insurance fraud, all carefully worded to avoid direct accusations while planting seeds of doubt. They're trying to get ahead of the story, Theo observed coldly. Attacking first to make any revelations about their fraud seem retaliatory. There's more, Sarah hesitated. Catherine's been visiting other surgeons in your network, spreading rumors about prescription drug dependency affecting your work. 3 doctors have already called expressing concerns about your fitness to operate. Perfect. At Sarah's startled look, he explained. They're getting desperate, making mistakes. Reschedule my afternoon unless it's critical. Time to set our own stage. Harvey's office occupied prime real estate in the financial district's most prestigious building. The forensic accountant had served 3 generations of Thompsons, which made his discoveries particularly satisfying. Devin arrived moments after Theo, carrying several hard drives. Your brother's not just sloppy, he's arrogant, Harvey began, spreading documents across his mahogany desk. Look at these equipment invoices. 300% markup was just the beginning. He's been running this same scam with 5 other medical practices, but yours was the crown jewel. Show me everything. For the next hour, Harvey and Devin laid out an intricate web of corruption. Clayton had been systematically targeting successful medical practices, using social connections to gain access, then manipulating equipment supplies through a network of shell companies. But the real surprise came from Catherine's involvement. Your wife's been planning this since before you married, Devin revealed, pulling up financial records. These offshore accounts? They were set up 8 years ago, right after your practice started showing serious profit. She's been siphoning funds through a series of shell corporations, using Clayton's business as cover. But here's where they got greedy, Harvey added. 6 months ago, they started accelerating their plans. Massive equipment orders, inflated invoices, phantom inventory. They're stockpiling cash, preparing for something big. They're planning to take over the practice, Theo realized. Use the false records to force me out, claim mismanagement, and step in as saviors. Exactly. But we can use their greed against them. Harvey pulled up a calendar. Your practice's 10th anniversary is coming up. Perfect opportunity for a celebration. Get everyone in one place. While we gather evidence, Devin finished. A black-tie charity gala would be exactly the kind of event they couldn't resist attending. Maintain appearances, show unity, and spring the trap. Theo smiled coldly. Make the arrangements. Spare no expense. I want this to be the social event of the season. Every hospital board member, local media outlet, and medical equipment supplier in the region should be there, including Clayton and Catherine, especially them. Let's give them one last performance. Theo checked his phone as another message came through. This one from Grace Carpenter requesting an urgent meeting. Keep digging into those offshore accounts. I want every transaction tracked, every connection mapped. As he left Harvey's office, Theo made 3 calls. First to his event planner, requesting the city's most prestigious venue. Second to Sarah, instructing her to schedule a meeting with Grace. And finally, to his bank, authorizing a substantial transfer to a new account, one that would soon fund his elaborate revenge. The pieces were moving into place. Now it was time to accelerate the game. The following weeks unfolded like a precisely choreographed surgical procedure, each move calculated for maximum impact. Theo maintained his usual schedule, performing surgeries and attending board meetings while quietly positioning his pieces. Clayton and Catherine grew increasingly bold, making public appearances together at charity events. Their carefully crafted narrative painted Theo as the neglectful workaholic husband, too obsessed with his practice to notice his wife's needs. Clayton played the concerned brother, stepping in to help manage the overwhelming business side of things. The morning news carried another society page photo, Clayton and Catherine at a children's hospital fundraiser, her hand possessively on his arm. The caption read, Medical Equipment Innovator Clayton Thompson and Socialite Catherine Thompson lead healthcare initiative. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore, Sarah remarked, dropping the paper on Theo's desk. Half the hospital staff is talking about how cozy they look. Good? The more public they are, the harder they'll fall. Theo reviewed the latest gala preparations. Has Grace confirmed her meeting? Grace Carpenter's office near the practice entrance showed signs of her increasing stress. Scattered papers, half-empty coffee cups, a general air of disarray. She jumped when Theo entered, her usually perfect appearance showing similar strain. Dr. Thompson, She twisted her hands nervously. There's something I need to tell you. About Clayton and the invoices and everything. I know about your daughter's college tuition, Grace. Theo's voice remained gentle, but his eyes were steel. The anonymous payments that started exactly when our equipment costs tripled. The altered patient records. All of it. Grace's face crumpled. He said it was just creative accounting at first. That insurance covered the difference. No one would be hurt. Then Catherine started asking for more changes, threatening to expose my daughter's situation. The drug charges that mysteriously disappeared. At Grace's shocked look, Theo continued. I make it my business to know everything about my employees, Grace, including who might be vulnerable to manipulation. Are you going to fire me? I'm offering you a choice. Theo placed a small recording device on her desk. Continue helping them destroy what we've built, or help me expose their entire operation. Your daughter keeps her scholarship either way. I've arranged a legitimate one through the hospital board. Tears streamed down Grace's face as she reached for the recorder. What do you need me to do? Keep doing exactly what they ask. Document everything. And most importantly, Theo's smile was cold. Don't let them suspect anything's changed. That afternoon, Theo met Clayton in the practice's conference room. His brother's new teeth gleamed artificially bright. Rush work from a discount surgeon he'd probably scammed. Theo, good to see you moving forward. Clayton's smirk hadn't changed, despite the dental work. About the gala, I've got some cutting-edge equipment to showcase. Really put your practice on the map. Excellent idea. Theo maintained his bland smile. In fact, why don't you handle the entire equipment display? Show everyone what you're capable of. Clayton's eyes gleamed with poorly concealed triumph. You won't regret this, brother. I'll make sure everyone sees exactly what I can do. Behind the scenes, the trap was closing. Anonymous tips reached the hospital board about equipment irregularities. The state medical board began investigating prescription drug distribution patterns. The FDA added Clayton's company to their watch list. Most satisfying were the small, technical issues plaguing Clayton's business. Supply deliveries arrived damaged. Computer systems crashed mysteriously. Inventory numbers never quite matched up. They're getting sloppy, Devin reported during their evening meeting. Grace's recordings are gold. Catherine can't resist bragging about their plans, especially when she's drinking. And the offshore accounts? Harvey's traced everything. We can prove they've been planning this for years. But here's something interesting. A woman called, said she has information about Clayton. Someone named Lucia Patterson. Lucia Patterson exuded old money confidence, but her eyes held calculated rage. She'd requested meeting at Le Blanc, an upscale restaurant well outside Clayton's usual territory. Her designer outfit and flawless makeup couldn't quite hide the tension in her shoulders as Theo approached. I was surprised to get your call, Theo said as they were seated. Clayton never mentioned being married before. I'm sure he didn't. Lucia's smile was razor-sharp. Just like he never mentioned his equipment scams or the interesting truth about his parentage. Theo's hand tightened on his water glass. Explain? 3 years ago, I found similar documents to what you've discovered. Equipment fraud, price fixing, all of it. I was going to expose him, but then I discovered something far more interesting. She removed a thick folder from her designer bag. Your father's private medical records and a very revealing paternity test. The documents told a story Theo had never suspected. 35 years ago, his mother had an affair with a pharmaceutical sales rep named James Morrison. 9 months later, Clayton was born. Their father had discovered the truth but kept quiet, raising both boys as his own. This explains a lot, Theo said quietly, examining the papers. Clayton never had the family aptitude for medicine, despite claiming our shared genes. He barely passed basic biology. It gets better. Lucia produced more documents. I tracked down Clayton's real father. Guess what Morrison did besides pharmaceutical sales? Medical equipment fraud. The exact same scam Clayton's running now, he learned from his biological father. Like father, like son, why are you showing me this now? Because when I threatened to expose Clayton 3 years ago, he destroyed me. Lucia's polished veneer cracked slightly. Froze my assets, ruined my reputation, made sure no one would believe me. I had to rebuild my entire life. And now you want revenge? I want justice. Lucia's composure returned. The gala is in 2 weeks. Every major player in the medical community will be there, along with local media. It's the perfect stage for truth to come out. Including this? Theo held up the paternity test. Especially this. Clayton's built his whole image on being a Thompson, trading on your family's sterling reputation. Imagine everyone learning he's actually the son of a convicted fraudster. As they finished lunch, Lucia handed him one final envelope. This came from your father. He left it with my private investigator before he died, in case the truth ever came out. Read it before the gala. Back in his office, Theo opened the letter. His father's familiar handwriting filled the page. My son, if you're reading this, You've discovered the truth about Clayton. I kept this secret not to protect your mother's reputation, but to conduct an experiment in nature versus nurture. You and Clayton shared the same advantages, the same opportunities. Yet while you chose to heal, he chose to harm. The truth is, blood means nothing compared to the choices we make. You're my son in every way that matters. Clayton proved himself a stranger long before I discovered his true parentage. Use this information wisely. Dad. Theo carefully folded the letter and placed it in his desk. In 2 weeks, every player would be in position. Clayton and Catherine would arrive expecting triumph, only to find destruction. Grace would provide damning testimony. Lucia would reveal the final betrayal. But first, he had a gala to perfect. Every detail had to be flawless: the venue, the guests, the timing. This wasn't just revenge. It was surgery, cutting out a cancer that had infected his life. The trap was set. Now it was time to watch it spring. The Grand Meridian Hotel's ballroom pulsed with nervous energy as the city's medical elite gathered for Thompson Medical Practice's 10th anniversary celebration. Crystal chandeliers cast strategic shadows over Clayton's equipment display, where he worked potential investors with his signature charm. Though his new dental work gave his smile an unsettling asymmetry. The Thompson name represents innovation and integrity, Clayton proclaimed to a group of hospital administrators. While my brother focused on surgery, I revolutionized our business operations. Our equipment solutions have transformed dozens of practices. Nearby, Catherine floated between social circles in a designer gown that cost more than most nurses' monthly salary. She played her role perfectly, the concerned wife seeking redemption through charitable work. Theo's devotion to medicine consumed him. She confided to sympathetic listeners, dabbing artfully at her eyes. The practice became his addiction. Clayton stepped in to modernize everything, save us all from collapse. From his strategic position near the entrance, Theo watched their performance with cold satisfaction. Sarah Chin appeared at his elbow, elegant in black evening wear. "Federal agents are in position," she murmured. "Grace's recordings are ready. And you should know, Lorraine Keith arrived early, asking to speak with you." "Interesting." Theo checked his watch. "Let her stew for now. Everyone else in place." Harvey has the financial records ready to display. Devin's monitoring all exits. And Sarah hesitated. "Mrs. Thompson, your mother, is seated with Lucia Patterson." Theo nodded. The final twist of the knife. "Perfect. Right on schedule." Clayton took the stage, tapping his champagne glass for attention. The crowd hushed, cameras ready. Local media had turned out in force for the year's biggest medical charity event. Distinguished colleagues, honored guests. Clayton's artificial teeth gleamed under the spotlights. Tonight we celebrate not just 10 years of Thompson Medical Practice, but a revolution in medical equipment innovation. The massive screens behind him lit up with his company logo. Our latest surgical equipment line represents the cutting edge of... The screens flickered, then changed to surveillance footage. Clayton's voice filled the ballroom, but not from the podium. "It's brilliant," recorded Clayton laughed. "The great Dr. Theodore Thompson, too drugged to notice us dismantling his life piece by piece. Those sedatives are worth every penny. He actually thinks you care about the practice." Catherine's recorded voice joined in. "Poor dedicated surgeon, working while we drain him dry. Did you see him stumbling around last night?" Lorraine's special tea works perfectly. Color drained from Clayton's face as multiple recordings played. Meetings with Grace, conversations about falsified records, jokes about poisoning Theo. Each clip carefully chosen to implicate everyone involved. "This is absurd." Clayton tried controlling the damage. Obviously doctored footage. Federal agents. The ballroom doors burst open as officers entered with warrants. "Clayton Thompson, you're under arrest for medical fraud, conspiracy, and unauthorized distribution of pharmaceuticals. You can't do this." Catherine's composed mask shattered. "Theo's the unstable one. He's been abusing prescriptions, neglecting patients." "That's a lie." Grace Carpenter stepped forward, voice steady. "I have recordings of every conversation where you plan to drug Dr. Thompson. How you threatened my daughter's future to force my cooperation. Ask them about the equipment from last month's surgery." Sarah Chin added. The defective supplies that could have killed patients if Dr. Thompson hadn't caught the problems. Is this true? Dr. Elizabeth Thompson stood, face ashen. Her carefully maintained society, matron demeanor cracked as decades of secrets threatened exposure. Ask her about James Morrison, Lucia Patterson called clearly. The pharmaceutical rep she had an affair with 35 years ago. Clayton's real father. The ballroom erupted. Clayton lunged for the nearest exit, but met Devin's ready fist. Catherine tried following, but found Sarah Chun blocking her path. Smile predatory. Your medical license is suspended pending investigation, Sarah informed her with satisfaction. The board received evidence of your involvement in distributing controlled substances and attempting to sabotage patient care. You orchestrated all this, Catherine spat at Theo. Destroyed your own family for revenge. No. Theo's calm voice cut through the chaos. You and Clayton destroyed yourselves. I just made sure everyone saw the truth. He turned to the shocked crowd. For 10 years, I dedicated myself to saving lives while they plotted to steal everything I built. Tonight, you see who they really are. You'll regret this, Clayton snarled as agents cuffed him. Brother, we're not brothers. We never were. Theo's voice carried clearly. And that's the only honest thing you've said tonight. The fallout dominated headlines for weeks. Clayton faced multiple federal charges as investigators uncovered the full scope of his operation. His dental reconstruction, done with his own substandard equipment, left him with a permanently crooked smirk that made his courthouse appearances particularly memorable. The investigation has expanded to 12 medical practices across 3 states, Harvey reported during an emergency board meeting. Clayton's company was supplying defective equipment throughout the region. The FDA's treating it as a major public health issue. Catherine's attempts at damage control backfired spectacularly. Her claims of mental abuse crumbled when Theo produced years of financial records showing her systematic theft. Her medical license suspension became permanent after Grace's recordings revealed her role in the sedative scheme. She's facing serious charges, Devin confirmed. Conspiracy, fraud, illegal distribution of controlled substances, and attempted medical sabotage. Turns out she and Clayton deliberately supplied faulty equipment for several of your surgeries, hoping to damage your reputation. Grace Carpenter's plea deal proved crucial. Her testimony exposed widespread corruption in medical equipment supply chains, leading to nationwide investigations. Her daughter's college fund was replaced by a legitimate scholarship, and her cooperation helped prevent potential medical disasters. 15 hospitals have identified critical equipment defects, Sarah reported. The FDA's ordering a complete recall. 3 patients nearly died from faulty monitoring equipment last month alone. The most satisfying development came during Clayton's bail hearing. His lawyer, attempting to argue community ties, accidentally revealed more fraudulent dealings with pharmaceutical companies. Each explanation exposed new crimes until the judge doubled his bail. His face every time he tries to smirk, Sarah observed. The botched dental work makes him look unhinged. Karma, Theo replied, has perfect timing, but the personal fallout cut deeper. Elizabeth Thompson's carefully constructed society life crumbled as Clayton's true parentage emerged. James Morrison's name opened decades-old wounds in the medical community. He ran similar scams in the 80s, Lucia Patterson revealed. Clayton learned everything from his real father. Like father, like son. 6 months later, Theo addressed a different crowd in Memorial Hospital's conference center. The Thompson Medical Equipment Oversight Foundation has one mission: ensuring patient safety never takes second place to profit. The practice had emerged stronger, implementing transparent procurement procedures and rigorous quality controls. Other hospitals sought their guidance in establishing similar protocols. Dr. Thompson? A sharp voice interrupted his post-speech mingling. Veronica Lawson, lead prosecutor on the Clayton Thompson case. Your foundation's work is revolutionizing medical equipment oversight. Theo turned to face a striking woman in her 40s, radiating fierce intelligence. Ms. Lawson, your prosecution team did excellent work. Veronica, please. Your evidence made our job easier. She smiled. Though watching Clayton's smirk malfunction during cross-examination was an unexpected bonus. Their conversation carried through dinner, ranging from medical ethics to prosecution strategies. Her passion for justice matched his dedication to patient care, creating an unexpected connection. The real victory, she noted, isn't just exposing corruption. It's preventing future victims. Exactly. Behind every fraudulent supplier is a patient at risk. Theo found himself genuinely relaxing for the first time in months. Would you consider consulting for the foundation? We need someone with your perspective. A courier interrupted their discussion. Dr. Theodore Thompson? Registered letter for you. The envelope contained a single page in his father's handwriting, dated just before his death. My son, if you're reading this, the truth about Clayton has emerged. I kept his parentage secret not to protect your mother's reputation, but to answer a question that haunted me. Does character come from nature or nurture? I gave you both the same opportunities, the same guidance, watched you make your choices. You dedicated your life to healing others. Clayton chose to exploit and destroy. The answer wasn't in his blood, it was in his decisions. You are my son in every way that matters. Let Clayton's true parentage be his final lesson. Legacy isn't about DNA, it's about the lives we touch and the choices we make. Use this truth wisely. Love, Dad. Theo carefully folded the letter, watching the hospital through the window. In those walls, he'd built his career, saved countless lives, and now pioneered new standards for medical ethics. Everything all right? Veronica asked. Better than all right. Theo smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building something they can never touch. Speaking of building, she returned his smile. Tell me more about your foundation's plans. As they returned to their discussion, Theo felt the last weights of betrayal falling away. He had chosen healing over harm, creation over destruction. That choice, more than any DNA test or family name, defined his true legacy. The evening continued, full of possibilities and plans. Sometimes the greatest redemption isn't reclaiming what was lost, but discovering something new worth building. Epilogue, 5 years later. The maximum security prison's visiting room hadn't changed in the years since Clayton Thompson began serving his 15-year sentence. His once muscular frame had withered, and the crooked smirk from his botched dental work had become a permanent fixture of his gaunt face. Still using substandard equipment, brother? Theo observed coldly, noting the cheap prison dentistry that had only worsened Clayton's dental problems. Or should I say, Mr. Morrison? Clayton's attempted sneer turned into a grimace. The federal investigation had uncovered over $30 million in fraudulent medical equipment sales across 5 states. His company's defective supplies had contributed to 6 patient deaths, adding manslaughter charges to his sentence. Come to gloat. Clayton's voice carried none of its former confidence. Your perfect revenge, not complete without a victory lap. Actually, I'm here on foundation business. Theo placed a folder on the table. We're documenting every case of medical equipment fraud. Your case study is particularly comprehensive. The Thompson Medical Equipment Oversight Foundation had become a national authority on medical supply chain integrity. Their certification program was now mandatory for hospital suppliers in 12 states, with federal legislation pending. How's Catherine enjoying her new career? Clayton asked, attempting to provoke a reaction. Theo allowed himself a small smile. After her medical license was permanently revoked, Catherine had attempted to rebuild her social standing through charity work. That ended when investigations revealed she'd been embezzling from those same charities. She now served 8 years in a minimum security facility, her designer wardrobe replaced by Prison Orange. Last I heard, she's teaching basic hygiene to fellow inmates, Theo replied. A step down from neurosurgery, but more aligned with her ethical standards. The investigation had exposed Catherine's longer history of fraud. She'd been falsifying credentials since medical school, using family connections to cover academic shortcomings. 3 of her previous surgeries were under review for malpractice. And dear Sister Lorraine? Clayton's attempt at casual conversation couldn't hide his bitterness. Lorraine Keith had turned state's evidence immediately, providing detailed records of her pharmaceutical distribution scheme. Her reduced sentence still included loss of her medical licenses and 5 years of supervised release. She now worked as a grocery store cashier in Nebraska, her society connections worthless. You should ask your mother, Theo suggested. Though she's been busy with her own redemption arc, Elizabeth Thompson had suffered the deepest social fall. The revelation of her affair with James Morrison and decades of deception had shattered her carefully maintained image. She'd retreated to a small cottage in Vermont, writing a memoir about generational trauma and the price of secrets. She still won't visit, Clayton muttered. None of them will. Actions have consequences. Theo gathered his papers. Speaking of which, the class action lawsuit from families affected by your defective equipment was just certified. Your remaining assets should cover about 10% of the damages. The door opened as Sarah Chen entered, now chief of surgery at Memorial Hospital. Dr. Thompson? The foundation board meeting starts in an hour. How's my old practice doing? Clayton called as they turned to leave. Still using my suppliers? The practice was dissolved, Sarah replied coldly. Dr. Thompson's new medical center specializes in treating patients harmed by fraudulent medical equipment. We've had no shortage of cases. The Thompson Center for Medical Ethics had risen from the ashes of the old practice. Its innovative treatment programs and research department attracted top medical talent nationwide. The waiting list for fellowships grew each year. Grace Carpenter sends her regards, Theo added. Her daughter just graduated medical school. The Foundation Scholarship Program is quite successful. Grace had transformed her guilty cooperation into a mission. As the Foundation's compliance director, she developed protocols for identifying and preventing medical supply fraud. Her testimony had helped convict 12 other fraudulent suppliers. Outside the prison, Veronica Lawson waited by their car. 5 years of marriage hadn't dulled her prosecutorial instincts or her passion for justice. Their wedding rings were inscribed with the date of Clayton's conviction, a private joke about how fraud brought them together. How's our star case study? She asked, kissing Theo's cheek. Bitter. Broken. Still trying to manipulate. Theo smiled at his wife. How was your meeting with the Justice Department? The new task force is approved. Medical fraud enforcement is finally getting serious federal attention. Veronica had parlayed the Clayton Thompson case into a crusade against healthcare corruption. Her prosecution team's conviction rate was legendary. They drove to the Foundation's headquarters, a modern building adjacent to the medical center. The lobby displayed a simple plaque. Legacy is measured by the lives we touch, not the blood we share. The weekly board meeting covered ongoing investigations, certification programs, and treatment initiatives. Devon's security firm handled compliance monitoring. Harvey's forensic accounting team tracked suspicious financial patterns. Sarah reported on new treatment protocols. One last item, Theo addressed the board. James Morrison died in prison last week. Clayton's biological father never admitted involvement in his son's schemes, but the pattern similarities were documented in our latest fraud analysis publication. Nature versus nurture, Veronica mused later that evening at home. Your father's experiment had quite an impact. He knew character reveals itself through choices. Theo watched the sunset from their terrace. Clayton and Catherine chose greed over ethics, destruction over healing. Their consequences were self-inflicted. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by a call from the medical center. A new patient had arrived, another victim of defective medical equipment. Within minutes, they were both heading to work, their shared mission stronger than any betrayal. 5 years had transformed an act of revenge into a movement for change. The Thompson name now stood for integrity rather than fraud, healing rather than harm. The Foundation's work saved lives while Clayton counted days in prison and Catherine folded prison laundry. Ready for another battle? Veronica asked as they reached the medical center. Theo smiled, wedding ring catching the evening light. Always. Some wars are worth fighting forever. Inside his office, his father's letter hung framed beside his medical licenses. The final lines remained as relevant as ever. Legacy isn't about DNA, it's about the lives we touch and the choices we make. The choices were clear. Heal or harm, build or destroy, serve or steal. Clayton and Catherine had chosen their paths. Their consequences served as case studies in the Foundation's ethics courses, cautionary tales of greed's price. But the true legacy lived in every patient treated, every fraud prevented, every life saved by maintaining medical supply integrity. Theo had built something his betrayers could never touch, a mission greater than revenge, a purpose stronger than deception. The evening's work beckoned. Another patient needed help, another fraud needed exposure, another battle needed fighting. The war against medical corruption continued, with the Thompson Foundation leading the charge. Some victories aren't measured in revenge, but in lives changed. Some wounds heal stronger than before they were broken. Some betrayals lead to better paths than the ones they destroyed. And some choices, like those that transformed a story of revenge into a mission of healing, echo far beyond their moments of decision, touching lives, saving futures, and proving that character, not blood, defines a person's true legacy. The work continued, and the legacy grew. One patient, one case, one choice at a time. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.